So having created any arbitrary number of notes, of course the most important thing is for us to be easily able to quickly and instantly retrieve and access them and find them. And just to show you, clearly we don't want to be using something like a file system browser to be trying to go through these trees, particularly because that's a very inefficient way of retrieving them for further editing and usage, as you can see. So what we do is instead we have, of course, the search command. So the simplest invocation of this would be to do Wibble search everything, and as you can see, we only have the 4 files because this little demo here, so there's very little to show. But if you had 500 notes, then you would get a list of 500. So you can always just basically do a dump of everything here. Now, as the prompt says, you just enter the corresponding number to open it. So let's open our markdown example, number 4, enter, and there we go. So it's as easy as that. Now, obviously searching for everything is not particularly helpful once we have any kind of significant number of notes, because we don't want to be trying to scan through some kind of list. And the whole point really is we want the ability to filter and identify things very precisely. Now, clearly one of the easiest, and probably the one that you'll likely use 95% of the time, would simply be to search on the title field. So the idea is we have all of these pieces of metadata that identify a particular note or node, however you want to refer to it, and we can individually search and filter on each one of those fields. So let's do Wibble search title another. So if I just type in the word another, it should immediately open note 2, and it does, because there isn't only the one kind of candidate option there. So basically, if it detects that whatever you've filtered by has uniquely filtered down to only one candidate match, then it just goes ahead and does whatever the kind of given action is, and the default action, unless you specify something else, is just to open it in your editor. And here might be a good kind of point to demonstrate you'll remember or recall that when we set up the configuration file, we had an option of specifying both the editor and the GUI editor, and that is because you can specify that as a command line option, GUI edit. I'll put the long option, but most of these have a short option as well, so you don't have to type all that. And if I run that again, as you can see, it's opened it up in LeafPad instead. So that's quite a quick way. And one of the things I maybe should have said right at the very beginning is, of course, make use of the inbuilt help. So if we do Wibble help, it shows you all of the basic available, the subset of commands, add, backup, batch, bookmark, create, delete, blah, blah, blah. They're all there. And so to get particular help, or to show the exact command line options for a particular command, then you just do Wibble help, and let's do search, because that's what we're talking about at the moment. And as you can see, the search one has an awful lot of options, because this is by far the most kind of complex or involved individual command, which kind of makes sense if you think about it, because really if we have 500, but especially if we have 5,000, and even more so if we have 50,000 notes, if we have a huge volume of information, the ability to individually filter and specify criteria to narrow down our matches becomes very, very important. So we're basically going to go through some of these as we go along. So the first thing to kind of note, as I was explaining, you can filter by any of these particular search fields. So we've been using title. Instead of typing hyphen title, you can just put -t. But you can use any of the other ones as well if you prefer. So we know that we've basically been creating mainly .txt files, text files, and markdown file MD. So we can filter on file type. So let's go Wibble search file type would be the long option, but let's, as you can see there, we can type the short option as well. So -y, and let's say show me all the txt files. So when you're doing things like the file type, and also when you're answering the prompt for creating a file type, don't put the dot in, just enter the actual extension that you're after. And so if we filter by txt, then we get those 3 notes, and note that the markdown file, of course, is not showing there. So again, you enter your number and it opens at that. If we do markdown, as we should only see one potential option here, and in fact it should probably automatically open it. And there we go, because it's the only one that's available there, nothing to kind of prompt. And so that gives you some idea about how you can filter it. Looking at the list here, you'll note that testing 1, 2, 3, because we actually bothered to enter tags for that, is showing that bunch of tags inside the square brackets, hashtag work, hashtag my-work-project. So if we do a tag search, we should be able to search for any of those tags. Again, it just does a substring search, so we don't even need to enter the hashtag. We can just do tags would be the long option, or A for the short option, and we can just do work. And again, it's only going to match the one option, so it's going to open it immediately. Now, because the hash symbol, as I say, I like to use hashes on the tags, personal preference, but you really don't have to, you really don't need them. But if you do, then just remember, because the hash symbol on a command line kind of means a comment in bash, you're going to want to put that in quotation marks, and then it will work. Just so that it understands that that's a command line argument, rather than just, otherwise it will just see a hash and as if you're commenting out. Now, I think we entered some key pairs on at least one of these records, and we have these other kind of fields. So one of the things you might be wondering at this point is, okay, I can view and filter a list of kind of notes, but what about if I'm kind of want to see the actual metadata? So I'm not so bothered about opening the note necessarily, I just want to view the metadata, show me some information. So if we bring up our previous, let's go with this one here, the one that's filtering by text, and say, hey, I only want to see the metadata, we can type either viewMD, again that would be the long option, or we can type the short option M, and as you can see, it shows us the metadata for those 3 notes all dumped out. So you can see all of the information there, including the key pairs here, which is separated by a hashtag. It's just a kind of block separator that it uses. The idea is these key pairs can store any arbitrary, whatever you like, any associated value that goes together with a key. So you could use that for kind of priority, high, medium, low, or priority on a scale of 1 to 10, or personnel, and then a list of kind of separated by spaces, or the names of people involved, or whatever. You can literally, your imagination is the limit. So if we want to search for, you imagine we had, say, hundreds of notes here, and we need to find all the ones that were kind of high priority tasks or project kind of files or documents. We could do, if we recall, the key pairs here, the long option is key pairs, or the short option is -s. To Wibble search S priority high, and as you can see, it only matches this one document here. Okay, so we know there's only the one there, so it's not so interesting. But let's edit the metadata. So we have metadata for notes, and of course it's all very well being able to create the metadata when you initially set up the note, but of course over time you're going to want to change that metadata, update the metadata, alter it in whatever way.